So we have different senses. Oftentimes the Lord speaks to me. It may begin with a thought. And I know this probably ain't got nothing to do with that scripture we're reading, but that's okay. So often when the Lord will speak to me, He's wanting to reach out to somebody, reach out and touch someone, bring a blessing, encouragement, a word of encouragement, something like that. But it'll start with a thought. I'll have a thought or a simple desire, an urge to do something good and loving for someone. That's where it starts with me. Oftentimes I'll have a feeling. I know that sounds probably weird to some people, but we are feeling creatures. And I remember, sad to say, because it's been a long time ago, and I have progressed very little, but Lord's helping me learn. I remember when the Lord first began to show me that He was speaking to me through my feelings. And you may have this experience as well, have had a similar experience as well. But I was going through a time in my life that I was depressed. I was down. Man, I just got the motor grubs, for a long time. I don't know how long it was. Anyway, I was at a meeting, a house meeting, probably 20 people there. And there was a guy there, I wouldn't call him a prophet, but he moved in the prophetic. God was showing things about you and in your life and give you a word of encouragement. So this gentleman had a table down in the front where he was sitting, and he would invite people from the crowd of about 20. You come on down and sit with me, and then they would just begin to talk. And he invited this one individual, and that person came from behind me, walked by me, and went down and sat, and he began to minister to this person. And he began to speak the spirit of depression. He talked about that. He talked about the spirit of suicide. He talked about a spirit of shame. There was probably about 5 or 6 things that we would deem not healthy emotionally or physically or whatever for us. Anyway, he reveals these things to this individual and begins to pray about these things for them. And that's when I realized, because when that person walked by me, every one of those, I won't call them entities, but some of it could have been, I guess, but like the spirit of depression and suicide and shame, all of that stuff I felt when that person walked by me. I'm like, what in the world? So then I got to thinking, a lot of the people that I was hanging around was all time complaining and depressed and got the blues and nothing's any good. Life is blah, 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 blah. And I realized because of the people that I was hanging around, I was taking on their stuff, receiving it into my life, and that's why I was depressed. I was hanging around a bunch of depressed people. But that was when the Lord began to show me that. So I began to try to take note especially if I'm around people. Be careful what you're feeling. Discern. So I began to discern what I was feeling and realizing that I was feeling a lot of what somebody was bringing to me when I was getting around them. And the Lord uses that sometimes, just sometimes it's just to pray for an individual. Sometimes it may be to give a word of encouragement to them or speak to them in some way to help build them up or encourage them in their path or in their trial. So, and you wonder, what's all I got to do with this chapter? Well, I'm just going with what the Lord, I believe, is bringing to mind. Where he said here in verse 12, Isaac, he's concerned. What if my father touches me? He'll see me. Oftentimes, God will speak to us. I'm not saying this is what this scripture's saying, but I'm just saying what has come to mind as I read it. God will speak to us through our senses. Sometimes we might smell something and be reminded of something. We might see something in our mind or as an image, or we might hear something or touch something. Just be aware of what's going on. That's the key to living in fellowship. Just being aware of whose presence you're in and who's in you and with you and for you. He's always there, the Father.